There comes a time in everyone's life when we just want to live outside the box. And sometimes the box that we live in, we don't want to look like every other box that everyone else lives in. That's why people change up their homes to be unique. Sometimes they even take ideas that come from books and make them into reality.
I grow all my own vegetables and I'm able to grow year-round. Seasonally, I have fruits and berries.
For example, could you imagine living in an airplane? What about an invisible house on the mountainside? Well, that's what this next list is all about, because people laugh at this house until they went inside. Here are 15 unique houses that you probably won't find anywhere else. Number 15. Tiny house. Who said kids couldn't build a house? It doesn't always have to be the extreme makeover crew who does something impressive, because this 13-year-old built a $1,500 tiny house with his family in the backyard. The kid's name is Luke Thill, and he spent 1 year on the construction project. Now that's commitment. He hails from Iowa Middle School, and for the last 12 months, he was in his backyard building his own house. He was pretty crafty in raising the money. He raised $1,500 by mowing lawns and helping his neighbors to build their 89-square-foot tiny home. He said that he would sit on YouTube one day looking around when he came across a tiny house idea. And of course, that spiraled into something bigger. It became a pet project. And that pet project became feasible. His parents were pretty supportive of it. Reggie and Angie had seen their son was on a mission and wanted to help out. Also, Luke's sister and twin brother helped out as well. The interior of the house features a TV, a lounge area, a mini fridge, and a folding dining room table. If you're ever in the market for building a new house, maybe contact this kid. He seems pretty crafty. You want to know a little secret? If you smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell, you'll have superpowers for the rest of your life. So what are you waiting for? Time to fly. Number 14. Flood-proof houses. Imagine a home in which you would never have to worry about flooding, because after all, it's a huge issue no matter where you live. You never know when torrential rain is going to cause a problem, and if you live on the coast, it's an even bigger problem. But one Japanese company has invented a flood-proof floating house. It comes out of the mind of Japanese housing developer Ichiju Kumoten, and he recently unveiled a flood-resistant house. What can it do? It remains waterproof during floods, and it also supports the ability to float off the ground. No matter what you believe in when it comes to climate, the loss of a house due to the floods is a terrible feeling. It can be devastating. And over the years, engineers and architects have always been trying to find new ways to save houses from natural disasters such as floods. And it looks like this Japanese housing developer has come up with something groundbreaking. It was even featured on a popular Japanese TV show, and that's been getting a lot of attraction ever since. On the show, it shows the house it's put through a simulated flood. It almost looks like a boat. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you might be frightened by the sight, but once you know, you might want to buy one. Number 13. Origami house. From homes that can float to now a home that may not be the best when it comes to water. Because when you hear the term origami house, you don't think of the sturdiest house, but in all reality, this one stands the test of time. The main feature of it is that you can unfold it and take it wherever you need to go. It's a foldable 23,000 tiny cabin that pops up in less than 3 hours. It makes us wonder why not everyone has one of these. It works from a unique hinge system that allows the Brett house to unfold into its instant shelter. It can also be an office or even an event space. It comes from a line of affordable cabins that folds up and go wherever you need them to. Behind it all, it's a patented hinge system that allows it to fold entire sections of the living area and roof into a small square shape for easy shipment. And then, when you're ready to set it up again, the home unfolds with a few simple steps. If you've ever wanted to feel like you live in a Lego house, it's probably for you. This makes the question as though why would anyone spend the $100,000 on a home when you can easily just spend the $23,000 fortune and take your home wherever you need it to go? But maybe this is too simplistic. What do you think? Number 12. White House skyscraper. What do you do when you have so much money but you don't exactly want to live in a skyscraper? You build a house on top of that skyscraper, of course. That's what this one Indian billionaire did in Bangalore, England. The place is home to one of the most luxurious and over-the-top luxury mansions that would ever be built in the world. And this isn't just any house built on top of a skyscraper. It's a complete replica of the White House. This amazing construction project belongs to Vijay Mallya, who happens to be the chairman of the United Breweries Group. This isn't his first foray into a wild project like this one. He's known for being flamboyant in the past. He had plans on building this house back in 2010, and it was met with mixed reviews, but it was the mainstream home, so he went through with it. The mansion had begun construction atop the Kingfisher Tower, and it was still under construction back in 2016. But then the financial problems hit, and Vijay had to flee of countries for the UK. Unfortunately, he left his home unfinished. You can see it's almost done, but if you ask us, kind of doesn't look like the White House. Either way, it's still pretty impressive. Number 11. The treehouse. We've all heard about constructing a treehouse. For most people, it's a childhood dream. But what would you say to someone who built a house around a tree? You know, as in you don't want to cut the tree down, but you also want to build a house? This next one is just that. It's a literal treehouse. It was Madhya Pradesh that built a little home around this giant 150-year-old tree. To be more specific, it was a fig tree, and this family is located in India. Now, it's a reason why they built this house around its tree. It's because the fig trees are considered sacred by many in India, and by cutting it down, it would be an inauspicious act. There were also many benefits of having the tree, like having the members of the household pray without having to leave the home. They could just sit there in the morning and get their prayers done. They also wanted to send out the message to the community that you complete your roots down in the middle of nature and not have to destroy them in the process. The place is now a 4-story building and a local landmark because of its unique facade and the way it looks like a tree. It was so unique that when the house was first built, there were engineering students who used to come and admire the place. And you would think it would be hard to live in a house with a tree inside of it, but it's never caused any practical problems to the family. Sometimes they even forget the tree is there. Number 10. The Lion House. From a tree in the middle of a home to now a lion house. It seems like these homes just keep getting crazier and crazier. We've all probably seen the Tiger King by now. The man surrounded himself with tigers, and this location is pretty similar in the way that it's animals living on the property. Except instead of tigers, you're getting a family full of lions. The Lion House happens to be a 3-bedroom self-contained cottage that stands in the middle of the GC Conservative Wildlife Reserve. It's home to more than 70 beautiful lions. You can even stay at this property. You get a whole lion experience, and when you go, there are lions right outside your door. The amenities you get while staying there are self-catering with a full kitchen. There's also a beautiful outside patio for relaxing on. While you're out there, you get a nice close-up view of the lions roaming about. That's even a patio that has a barbecue area for dining. Their website guarantees that at the Lion House you'll be surrounded by 70 or more lions chatting to each other. It's an experience that you're not going to find anywhere else, especially when you hear the lions roaring at night. We're not sure about staying that close to lions. They don't seem like the friendliest of animals, but if you're looking to stay around them, the Lion House may just be for you. Number 9. Golf ball homes. Are you a fan of golf? Then maybe you would like to live in a home that's shaped like a giant golf ball. You probably have to be a big fan of that, but it's all real because those houses exist. It comes out of Bosch, Netherlands, where you're only about an hour's drive southeast of Amsterdam. Inside this little town are a Queen's Catholic Church and even the Art Center. But it's the 50 golf ball-shaped homes that stand out most. The homes are known locally as ball houses. They're the last product of a grant for an innovative residential development by the Dutch government that launched in 1968. They're colorless concrete abodes that almost look a little futuristic from a distance, and they weren't supposed to look like golf balls. They're supposed to look like each of the balls is resting on a cylinder, and they have a front door, a storage space, and a staircase that winds up and then wraps around the interior. They look small from the outside, but they have a bedroom, bathroom, living room, and even a kitchen. They also don't look like they have windows, but they do. These homes have a decent amount of space inside. They're around 592 square feet. I guess you could say if you live here, you may get a home in one. Number 8. Belarus Horror House. As promised, we've covered a lot of houses here that are made up of different things. It's so far proven that houses can be more than just the basic style that we've come to know today. But now we're about to push the envelope a little bit. It's this next house is considered horrifying. This is mainly because it's made of bones and skulls. In a small town in Belarus, this is what you'll come across. It sits just 5 kilometers from the capital city. It has a roof that's embellished with devils and black skulls. There are also bony hands sticking out from the stone fence. It looks like something straight out of a horror movie. It's gone so bad for the town residents that some of them have complained to the authorities. Because the home happens to scare a bunch of children, even some adults get spooked when they walk past. Just imagine this place at nighttime. One neighbor complained it's the little devils on the roof along with the skull-covered dome making the place look more like a home of vampires. So who owns this spooky place? Frankenstein? Actually, no, and the owner claims that he's no psychopath. He's just a regular businessman who began working on the house about a decade ago, but left for 8 years of it. It seems like a pet project for the owner, and the neighbors aren't happy about this as they're afraid there will be more decorations that are even scarier. But if you don't live there, it's probably worth a visit. You won't find a house like this anywhere else. Well, maybe Transylvania. Number 7. The One Log House. And now, for this next one, we go back to trees. Except for this time, the house isn't built around a tree. The house is made from a tree. It's called One Log House, and it's open all year long. You can even get espresso and gifts there. It's a pretty famous place because it's a location that's built out of one giant log. It's located in Garberville, and it's a novelty place that you would probably see slapped across a promotional site on the highway or something like that. It's one large redwood tree that's been hollowed out, gutted, and then made to look like a living room. Some say it even has a Martha Stewart feel to it. When you get inside, it's still pretty impressive despite its small size. It can be likened to a $3,000 a month apartment in New York City, or maybe even LA, but the furnishings inside could make for an impressive Airbnb. There's a kitchen, an area to eat breakfast, a nook, some reading tables, and of course, some beds. It would be perfect for a sleepover, but you could probably easily get a little cramped in there after a while. It's a perfect novelty space. Maybe not great for living, but if you ever want to escape to your own little quiet log house, this would be perfect for you. Number 6. Mars Research Center. This next place of living sounds like it comes from a science fiction novel, but it's all too real. It's the Mars Research Center, and this is where scientists orchestrate mock Mars conditions to see if we could ever be able to sustain life there. It's all done for research purposes and to try to gauge how Mars could be beneficial for us maybe in the future. It's about 7 miles from Hanksville, Utah, and it's funded by NASA. These scientists that work there have been preparing for a hypothetical manned mission to Mars for years. Each of the astronauts is assigned the task of testing what's known as field procedures. They also look at habitat design features and new technologies, all that help learn more about Mars. This is all with the hopes of traveling there one day. The crew usually consists of 6 people, and there are a lot of Mars simulations that go on at the site. It may sound far-fetched now, but who knows? Maybe we'll be taking trips to Mars before you know it. Number 5. Living in a greenhouse. Do you enjoy living around a bunch of plants? Then you'd probably like this next house, which is technically a greenhouse. It comes out of Sweden, where one family decided to say screw the cold weather and create their warm climate. Because the average weather in Stockholm, Sweden is usually below 3 degrees Celsius. So, one couple named Mary Grandma and Charles Sacalito created their greenhouse that makes the climate a lot warmer. It all started in 2004 when the Swedish couple decided to wrap their summer home in a huge 200 square meter greenhouse, and that blossomed into that being able to live year-round. There are many benefits to it, like utilizing solar power to save energy. It also saves a bit on heat. In addition to all that, the couple can grow their produce. So where did this all come from? The idea had been first proposed by an architect in 1974, and then the couple took that idea and expanded on it. It sounds pretty crazy, but they even have their own sewage. They don't have to rely on the city whatsoever for sewage help. Now you would think this might be kind of easy to build, but Charles is an engineer, so he knows all about building efficient houses. It's a cool concept, but after a while, you might kind of feel like you're sleeping outside. Number 4. Freedom Cove. A lot of these homes seem like they would be off the grid because they're so unique, but so far a lot of the homes have abided by city regulations. Now we move on to the next one, which is actually off the grid. One couple has spent 25 years living on the floating compound, which they call Freedom Cove. They're completely self-sufficient, using only solar power and growing their food, but they do make trips to shore every 2 weeks. There are a couple of artists, and their names are Wayne Adams and Catherine King. They built their lovely home right off Vancouver Island 25 years ago, and it hasn't stopped there. They're always improving it by adding structures and repairing damage from storms. In addition to their solar energy, they also have their water system. Not like we said before, they're not completely self-sufficient. They do have to make trips to land every 2 weeks. And this isn't for the necessities or anything like that. They just claim that they get land sick sometimes. Who could blame them? But it's not like they just live on a boat, in their home and some gardens, a dance floor, and of course an artistic living space. It has always been easy. They claim that they have to learn by doing rather than teaching themselves. And you can guess that there are quite a few problems with living off the grid, but this couple seems to have worked out for themselves pretty well. Number 3. Lonely Lighthouse. When it comes to looking to lighthouses, they're not the most social buildings. You don't have a lot of crowds or parties going on there. It's a solitary endeavor, and those are just regular lighthouses alone. Now imagine one that sits atop a lonely rock in the middle of nowhere. That's right, this lighthouse stands atop an almost skyscraper-sized boulder that would make anyone a little seasick. And if you're scared of heights, forget about it. This lighthouse is located in the Westman Islands, around 6 miles from Iceland's mainland. It's debated to be the most isolated lighthouse in the world. One thing's for sure, it's the scariest. This structure, which sits atop a 120-foot rock right in the center of the North Atlantic Sea, has been built in 1939. Here's the great part about it. They didn't use any helicopters to build it. You can just imagine how difficult it was to construct such a thing. But we'd like to think that working there is equally as hard. Number 2. Mirrored home. Do you fancy yourself as conceited? Then this next home might just be for you. Because its unique trait, it's being surrounded by mirrors. It's made by designer Thomas Osinks and Los Angeles film producer Chris Hanley. Some say it looks like a New York City skyscraper, but on the side. This crazy-looking invisible house sits on a remote site that's 10 minutes from downtown Joshua Tree, California. And it's not owned by some rich billionaire. It's actually available for rent, but not to live in. You can film, do some photography, or host an event there. It's made up of a long and slender steel frame that's clad in mirrored tempered glass. It's the same stuff used for skyscrapers. It's stationed elevated above the ground on cylindrical concrete columns, and at the end of it, it forms a cantilever. When you get inside the state-of-the-art property, which expands to 90 acres, you'll see a metal structure that's left exposed in the ceiling, but you'll also find an indoor swimming pool. In addition to a swimming pool, there's also a living room and dining room area. You can choose from different setups of sofas and chairs and enjoy a sliding glass door that forms a large portion of the wall on the west side of the building. At the very end of the pool, you'll find the projection screen for, yes, movies. And on the other end of the pool is a kitchen designed for catering events. I'm enjoying the pool. There are 4 bedrooms and bathrooms. They're all separated by white partitions rather than doors. From there, you can see the whole desert. It's a modern place to be, maybe a little too modern in our book. Number 1. Airplane house. Forget about jet lag from an airplane, because this next house is an airplane. This was all done by one man who turned an airplane into a home. Now that's recycling. How does this man pull this feat off? His name is Joe Axline, and his passion for creating weird pieces of property started when he was 11 years old. His first order of business was buying a piece of property in an aviation community in Brookshire. In the same year, after an exhausting 4-month search, Axline found the plane that he wanted to turn into a home. It wasn't exactly a full airplane. It no longer had wings, and it can no longer work. Obviously, it wasn't long before he turned it into his living quarters. And unlike the log houses from before, the plane is pretty roomy. Inside, there's a master bedroom, 2 sleeping areas, a bathroom, a living room, an office, and a kitchen. His kids even stay there with him. The interior may be nice, but there's also an outdoor deck equipped with a grill. He's 55 now and says that he's probably going to live there for a very long time. Hey, at least there's no need for a black box anymore. If this list has proved anything, it's that homes don't have to stick to the traditional formula that we're used to. Even if you're an adult, you can still be creative with how you live. There can still be magic in the home that you reside in. Whether it's building a home around a tree, or hollowing out an airplane so that you can always feel like you're living in the sky, keep your imagination open, and maybe one day you'll be on one of our lists for the next innovative home.